they have been using factoring. Now, I understand that that might not be the first time that they've used it, but it's certainly the first time they've had to disclose that they have used it.
Oh, wow.
And so my concern...
That surprises me.
Okay. Why is that?
Unless they've come up with a much cheaper way of financing their receivables, has normally been a pretty strong cash generative business with good returns on capital on the cash generated. So no, that is a bit of a surprise.
So you could probably see where I'm going with this, and my concern is, so there has been. I don't have many data points, unfortunately. So all I have is a year N16 balance. I have an H1 balance, which has just been provided. I haven't got anything on paper. That was just told to me. And I have a year N17 balance. And I know that the total facility is 20 million. And I know that at year end, there were 19.9 million. So they couldn't have used much more. And my supposition is that if you X out the factoring, then this has been used to offset the billed receivables, but the unbilled receivables or accrued income is up significantly. I can't prove that for a fact because I need to wait for the annual to come out in a couple of days, but that is what I'm trying to understand a little bit better. And if that is happening, why might it be happening?
I think you're dead right to question it, Matt. I honestly can't. No, it's not something I even looked at while I was CFO to go down that route of factoring these debts. You are dealing with very good quality credits. You're dealing with the top 250 clients, so it's an obvious source. The only thing I can think of is that they've managed to find a cheaper way of funding their debt requirements by using factoring because of the security they can provide as against their other debt facilities. But it's something that you'd need to ask the CFO because
so I know what they're paying. They're paying LIBOR plus 175 basis points.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me why you would do that unless you're trying to give the impression that working capital. So I have spoken to the CFO about this, and I asked him because he was on the call and he was asked about the factoring, and he sort of implied that this was good business, it was high margin business for us, but we were asked to have different payment terms. And so I asked him about it, and I said, okay, well, that's fine. But he also said on the call that he wouldn't do any more. He wouldn't look to do any more than the current balance, which he said the factoring facility had been in place for a number of years. And so I said, well, why wouldn't you do more of it if it allows you to, if it's just a simple sort of, cash flow catching up with profitability issue, over time I'll get back to one. Why not do it? And he said, well, we just don't need to. So I'm struggling to sort of, triangulate the data points. If they hadn't have done it, and this is just a pure timing issue, well, obviously free cash and working capital will look worse and free cash much worse. So to me, it feels like this has been done purely as a window dressing exercise. But obviously, I don't know that. All I have is sort of the publicly available information, and I don't know the business that well. So I'm just trying to sort of piece it all together.
You may well be right, and again, without actually spending some time on the numbers, one of the key things that they've obviously pulled out in their presentation is where their leverage is, and whether they felt they were under pressure to get their leverage below 2.5 times and into that range.
But you see that, but post this Wells Fargo